Hello everybody, I'm Chuck Wiger, State Senator, and today I'm very pleased to have with me Jonee Brigham. She is from Maplewood and she's also a research fellow, senior research fellow at the University of Minnesota in the Minnesota Design Center. I met her this summer at a water conference, and she's an expert on environmental education programs, particularly working with a lot of the students in our school districts and other venues. And I was so impressed with what she's doing, and I welcome you here.
Thank you.
And so tell us about your program, your passion for environmental education.
All right. I work in a couple areas of environmental education, and I would say my passion for environmental education started when I was a child. I just cared about the environment since I was young.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Arden Hills.
Okay, so not too far.
Yeah, and my dad was a professor of entomology, forest entomology at the U. Okay. And we'd go on nature walks and look at things closely.
There you go.
And my mother's an interior designer. And so I was very interested in art and culture and environment as they intersected in science. And so I went into architecture as a field. And from the very beginning, I was focused on sustainable design or green design. The names change, but the idea is the same, protecting the environment. And over time, as I got more and more technical, I realized that while information is needed to solve problems, there's a kind of foundation of caring and of just paying attention to the environment is something that's important.
Yes.
That's kind of a precursor to using that good information in science to make good decisions. And so I became more and more interested in education and arts and cultural work related to the environment. And so at the University of Minnesota, at the Minnesota Design Center.
And where'd you go to college?
Oh, I went to the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
I got my Bachelor of Architecture there, and then I went again while I was working for the Center for Sustainable Building Research. I went and got a Master's of Liberal Studies, which is an interdisciplinary degree, and that's where I really shifted, I would say, into the educational focus of my work.
Okay.
And so I work on, if viewers have heard of Minnesota Green Step Cities, I'm working with, should I explain to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Minnesota Green Step Cities.
And I'm referencing this as a program because it's what Minnesota Green Step Schools that I work on is based on. So Minnesota Green Step Cities is coordinated by many groups, Pollution Control Agency, League of Minnesota Cities, and it's a challenge, assistance, and recognition program for cities to green their operations. And there are green schools programs out there, but they tend to recognize just the leaders of the pack, and a few of them. And that's important, but a number of us felt like in the same way that Green Step Cities addresses people at all levels of greening, you might say, we needed something like that for schools. And so we got a grant from Pollution Control Agency to start the process. We've got a first framework out there. We're looking for funding to pilot it. And basically, Green Step Schools, like Green Step Cities, is a challenge, assistance, and recognition program for schools anywhere from beginners to advanced. And importantly, not only does it look at the operations of a school and the health of the staff and students, but the third pillar is environmental education. So, in other words, to be a green school, you need to be teaching about the environment and promoting environmental literacy.
And I know you're getting a lot of inquiries, response, interested participants. Tell us about the area interest in the Maplewood area.
Well, the program is not running yet. We are looking for pilot.
But in terms of interest for pilots, is there any relationship that's developing? Maplewood has a number of sustainability initiatives. And, and there's different programs, but
actually
putting it together.
Yeah, the city of Maplewood is a high-ranking Green Step city itself. And so I think the city would be interested in supporting that too. I haven't had so many conversations with schools, although I've worked with schools in Maplewood on some environmental education projects in
Yes.
the other area of my environmental education work. But I expect there to be interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for schools, starting at what age?
It's the program is for K through 12.
Okay.
Public or private
Yes.
is the plan.
Okay.
The other area of environmental education I've worked in, where I have worked directly with Maplewood schools, is ArtLed environmental education about systems thinking and integrating the arts and culture.
Yeah, a very important concept, and I had exposure to too many of the applications, but at the conference I was at for the Water Summit, we learned a lot more about integrating art and the
Yes.
environment. So share more about what the
Okay.
research says
Yeah.
and why you're trying to roll this out
Yeah.
for everyone to benefit.
Yeah, I was excited about that at the conference too, in addition to the integration of equity issues. I mean, I
Yes.
really see things coming together in the way they need to at that conference. So in the ArtLed environmental education work I do, it's called Earth Systems Journey, and
Yes.
that's what I developed during my master's program. And it's really, it's based on the idea of story, or hero's journey actually,
Yes.
Joseph Campbell, and the idea that story resonates with people. People learn better through story, they engage with story, and it's a way to connect content to personal meaning. And that's important to me because it's not just the knowledge, it's the
Yes.
caring and connection you feel about the environment as well. And so an Earth Systems Journey starts at a place of environmental use in a learning environment. Like when I worked at Edgerton Elementary, we went to, I worked with my son's class with a great teacher.
Absolutely.
I was, the teacher
Dad
was...
took you on those
yeah.
walks, and you better be
Sue
there.
Collins is his fabulous teacher, and I just...
Sue Collins.
You know her?
All right.
Yeah.
Of the great work, yes.
Yes, and and she's very technology interested as well. So I worked with her class. We started at the storm drain outside the school, right where
Yes.
the bus comes up. And we went on this journey of basically the structure is, where does it come from, where does it go, what happens along the way? And so students gathered around there, this strange woman who comes into the classroom interested in their storm drain, which I renamed the Portal of Secret Wonder. So this is the
Okay.
playful, the art comes in.
Yes.
And throughout the course of about a month, several meeting times, we followed the path of water from the roof of the elementary school, down the downspouts and gutters, through storm drains, under the library, where it passes through that storm drain, and
Yeah.
then from there along the underground storm tunnels to the pond that's on the far end of Edgerton. And then we weren't able to do field trips for this particular project, but we talked about how then that goes to the Mississippi River and
Yes.
the Gulf of Mexico. And so the idea is for students to really see that this point in their environment is connected to this larger system of
Yes.
environmental pathways and a community of people that manage those pathways. So we had Bob Running, the stormwater supervisor from the city, come with his orange penny and his hard hat and show the students the map of the storm tunnels and talk about his job, so his career
Great.
exposure. And he actually went to that school, by the way. So he was a guide for the engineered stormwater, and we had Sage Passy, from a watershed educator from Ramsey, Washington Watershed District,
Yes.
come and talk about water quality testing and the natural bodies of water. So it's
Great program.
it's kind of integrating the pipes and the ponds, I like to
Yes.
say, and the people who manage them,
Okay.
and showing the kids how this is all connected. And then we used GIS and presented the work at Waterfest.
A GIS for everybody, Geologic Information System.
Yeah, Geographic Information System, which is, there's software free to schools, and Sue was interested in learning about it. And so the students made GIS maps of
Good.
the playground.
Well,
So
great opportunities for the students, and I bet there even could be some potential for early education, in
Actually-
the early education programs. A lot of the elementary schools will provide that, and they are very
Yeah.
thirsty for that as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Actually, the first time I did it was in a preschool.
Great.
And I've done it with high school. So.
And for the rest of the lifelong learners out there, others that have an interest in the subject, how could they learn more? Their websites or programs?
Yeah, there's earthsystemsjourney.com, just about the program.
One more time?
earthsystemsjourney.com is the website I have for just the surface area of my art studio. And I should say I use the model both independently through my art studio, Arts Grants. I just had a residency in Western Minnesota to use it at an environmental camp. But I also have made it available to use at the university in some research proposals as a strategy for STEAM education.
And it's good you mentioned STEAM. Sometimes it's referred to as STEM for science, technology, engineering, math, but STEAM, putting the arts as a part of that as well, and so everybody's getting along fine, but when it's referred to as STEAM, I totally get that.
Yeah, and sometimes the arts are used to sort of enhance STEM content. I like to make the arts the starting point. Start with a context of meaning and story, and then use that as a vehicle to bring the STEM content in.
Wonderful. We're very happy that you live in Maplewood as well, from Arden Hills, but why did you move to Maplewood?
When my husband and I were looking at houses, you can get a lot more. He had lived in McGroveland, and you can get a lot more house for your money in Maplewood. We had beautiful yard with mature trees, so it was the trees, and the bike trails, and this was before we were planning having kids, so we didn't know it had a good school district, but that allowed us to stay. And yeah, I just love there's things about Maplewood that I've discovered since we decided to move there that I love. I'm very proud that it's a Green Step city, and the parks and bike trails and good school district.
Well, Jonee Brigham, thank you so much for your service on environmental education, related initiatives. We wish you continued success. And again, if anyone would like to learn more, if you could share a website or contact info.
Sure. So earthsystemsjourney.com for that program, and for Green Step Schools, MN Green Step Schools, all one word, .org.
Jonee Brigham of Maplewood and with the University of Minnesota, Senior Research Fellow, thank you for your efforts, and I encourage everyone to learn more about these programs, to support it. It's our future at stake. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Okay.